Okay, so now we've got the body of this guy under control. We'll start on some fins. We're going to save some time by modeling one and editing it as much as we can. So I'm starting with the cylinder as the primitive. Get it sort of roughly the same width as the fin. I'm rotating it 90 degrees. I'm rotating it a little bit this way, so it's sort of approximating a cross section through this fin. Okay, move it a little bit. Convert it to a poly. I'm going to delete all these bottom verts and then grab the border and edge extrude that down, scale it up only in these two axes, the viewing plane axis. Go a little bit more with it. Now I'm going to, as you can probably see, the cylinder still has a cap on it. I don't want to get rid of that, so just deleting it. So I have an open edge there to edge extrude from. Pushing this up like that. Scaling it down, because obviously the fin tapers to a point. Probably got to scale it down more. Again, it's very repetitive as usual. Scaling it down. Again. Scaling. I'm not totally happy with that curve. I'm going to maybe pull this in a little bit. I'm okay with the center line of the fin down this way being a little bit off towards making the front thicker, because that's I think the airfoil sort of shape works better that way anyway. I need to rotate this a little bit more. Another one, rotate, scale down a bunch. Now what I want to do is I want to start making it so I can start to taper to a point with this guy. So I'm going to pull this one out as well, and this one out, and you'll see what's happening as we go. Scale, rotate, scale again, make it a little bit more extreme this time. Oops, move. And then what we can do is just grab these two, pull it out, and you can see I'll just scale this whole thing down in the left-right axes, because that's what we want to do eventually. And you can see there's an open edge there, but what we want to do is grab the 2 points right on the tip, and then where's collapse? Collapse it, grab these two. Oop, everything disappeared for a second there, and collapse it into this one we put for ourselves there, and the same with these three. And then we've got a completely capped off fin with all quads, right? And that's good. We'll scale this down just a tiny bit. But the main way I want to do the tapering of the fin is with an FFD. So we'll just grab the corner point of the FFD there, scale it down a bunch, and obviously check it from all the different angles. I might scale down the front a little bit to collapse it. So that's one fin structure, which I think is pretty fine. This is looking a little bit too straight here, so I'm going to pull that out a bit. So we've got one done, and I can copy it now down to this fin and edit it a bit. So I'm going to shift drag, but when this comes up, we've been using instance, so we want to go copy now, because we're actually going to edit this one and we want it to stay different. So it's there now. Rotate. Might stick on 180 exactly for now, just so it's easier to work with. Rotate a little bit more and sort of fit it to that other fin down at the I can't remember the name of the fin position. Some fish person will be able to tell me. And then we just want to start editing it a little bit like this. And you'll notice that I'm ignoring this part for now. We'll address that in a second. Pull this forward a little bit. Bit more of this sort of business. We actually might end up deleting this part, this last loop there. Alright, cool. And then I'm going to move this up to here, and this over to here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab these, I'm going to extrude them scale them down a heap. Put that down there somewhere, and push these out a bunch to there. I'm not totally happy with how it's looking, so what I'm going to do is grab this loop, chamfer it. Okay on that. I'm going to pull this in a little bit more. So that's cool. Yeah, I'm okay with that. And I'm going to spread these out a little bit towards the front, so that it's not so, the geometry is a little bit more evenly distributed. So we've just extruded that that little spiky part of the fin that seems to show up there in the old reference. Just do a little bit more massaging to make sure everything fits with the reference reasonably well. And I guess set it all to Smoothie Group 1. What we'll do now is we'll rotate it a little bit. Or actually, now that I've seen that from the other dimension, I want to grab that whole element there, get rid of that, and chuck on an FFD. FFDs will do a lot for you, as you might have noticed by now. Scale it down a little bit, so it sort of tapers off as well. I'm okay with that. That's close enough. Doesn't have to be completely perfect. So now we'll move it over to the side of the shark's body and rotate it a little bit. We don't want to overdo it because we'll start to diverge too much from the reference. And as you go, it might be worth grabbing these and pulling them down a little bit, just to keep that length in the fin while we rotate it. And I might grab this open edge as well and rotate that a little bit more, so it sort of is easier to join up into the body when we get to that. And then what I'm going to do is chuck an FFD on and pull it out a bit further like this. So the reason I'm using an FFD and not a rotate is because the FFD will actually sort of stretch it and keep it in line with the references, and we can edit that more from the other angle as we go on. So for now I'm just going to merge that into the body, that's looking okay. I might want to pick all those in the element mode and then go down to retriangulate, just in case I can get some better appearance from it that way. It's not too great, but subdividing will fix it. So that's looking pretty good. I'll copy this down to here as well, to the back. Copy, that's cool with me. I'm going to, well, you can't see it right now, so I'll turn it off. I'll just grab all these borders, and I'm just going to use the tip of the fin on this one because I'll effect pivot only, center to object. Go back to the create tab and scale this down so it's sort of more in line with what we need. Rotate it a bit, so that's cool. I'm even going to go so far as to delete that. I think I'll rotate this a little bit. Oh, not so much that way. Scale it up until we get it in line. Same deal here. Again, the tip is the most complicated part to solve in mesh, so that's the part I've reused mostly for here. So just bring this down, rotate it a bit, scale it up a bunch. I'm going to turn off the angle snap, rotate that a little bit this way. I'm going to make that even bigger actually. Pull this down a bit. I'm going to convert this to an edge selection, control click, get rid of the back set because there's some sort of little bulge sort of thing happening there. I'm going to stretch this up a bit more. That's looking fine to me. Get a bit more of a curve happening. Just always remember to refine the sort of curve shapes that you've got going. Oops, rotate again. It's kind of neat. I'm going to set that to Smoothie Group 1 again. Oh, this bottom one needs to flare out a little bit. Except remember at the back they've got this sort of that thing going on there, so oops, I'll deselect the front and scale this down a little bit so it sort of pinches in a bit. Yeah, that's cool. So I'll merge that one into the body as well, and we're keeping the dorsal fin as sort of the prototype for making other fins. Alright, now we'll keep going with this, and we'll just continue on. Make another copy of this guy. Just gonna hide this real quick. Rotate it. Oh, oops. Should probably have the angle snap so I can get it right on 180. Scale it down. Let's see. Gonna have to rotate this a little bit, and then I'm going to delete a whole bunch of these as before. Rotate that a bit. It's working. Good enough for me. This one only has like a slight sort of protrusion on that side there, so I think I'm gonna just incorporate it into the actual base mesh without having to extrude any parts. Hopefully that made sense, what I'm doing there. This is going to need some tweaking, but that's okay. I'm just going to go into here and massage some of this out. Just keep it nice and smooth. That looks pretty okay to me. Okay, cool. So again, we've got to move it out to the side of the body, out here somewhere, and I'm going to grab this. I'm going to rotate that in a little bit. Oh, that's not great. See, I don't have a. I'll grab in the actual. If I don't click onto any of these axes, I can hold on here and sort of rotate it in that plane. So it still needs some cleaning. I'm going to expand it a little bit, and then of course rotate a little bit from here. Not as much as the last one, I guess. And it's not great, but that's okay by me. So we'll attach that on there. And the last one is this underside fin here. We'll start that in the same way, but we won't be able to actually salvage much of this fin for this one. Angle snap is on. Get down to 180. I'll get rid of all of that pretty much and just use the point. I'm going to center the pivot as well, just so it's easier to rotate it and know where it's going to go. Get this up here somewhere. Scale it down a fair bit. And I'm going to have to morph this quite a bit. But the topology is cool. I'm fine with the topology, so I'm keeping that. Okay, cool. We're going to have quite a thin part at the back of the fin there, but that's okay. It's going to look fine. Push this down a little bit. It's getting there. It's getting pretty close to done, I think. We'll extrude once and scale it up a whole bunch. Okay. Fairly happy with that, I guess. So we'll have to start actually merging these into the body now, right? Just going to set that to smoothing group 1. If it's not obvious, I'm only doing them on one side of the body because we're just going to put a symmetry modifier on it at the end anyway. What I want to do is start prepping the body mesh to line up with these and be able to fuse on. So I'm going to grab these and pull them back a little bit. Grab this one and put it a little bit further towards the center of the fin. Pull these ones a bit. And I'm going to grab all these four and inset them. So inset in the menu, but I'm going to click on that so I can control the numbers pretty precisely. That looks cool to me. I'm going to delete those, pick these two open borders, and I think I'll just be able to bridge them. Yep, that works fine. Because they both had 8 sides, obviously. I'll loop select this, and then I'll hit relax down here. That's actually creating a little bump there, so I'm going to just manually sort of smooth this out a bit. Not too much, I guess. Again, remember to keep everything nice and smooth from pretty much every angle if you can. This looks like a bit of a lump there, so I'm going to pull that down, and this one too a bit. So if I was to smooth all these on the same, on the same smoothing group, down and put them on one, it's looking pretty good. It's integrated with the rest of the mesh, and now we can start filling in the other ones. So again, pretty much the same thing on this one back here. We will grab these 4, and instead of deleting these ones, I might just, instead of insetting these ones, I might just delete and bridge them up. Sorry if my voice sounds a little bit weird, it's kind of late at night at the moment, and that tends to happen to my voice late at night for whatever reason. Pull these up, move this one over a little bit, just sort of keep it flowing nice as usual. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'll see how that looks when it's all smoothed up. So this probably isn't as tricky as you would have thought to join these all up. I'm actually going to taper this one a bit more too, because I think it's a bit chunky as it is. So I'll grab all those, put on a FFT, and grab the top control points, scale them down a little bit. I might even scale the bottom down a little bit this time because it is quite thick. Collapse it all. Yeah, I'm okay with that now. These ones are going to be a little bit more work, but nothing too crazy. So I'm going to insert this one because these polys are just too big to accommodate that really. Going into the inset and using the number scrolly thingy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to convert this to a vertex selection. I'm going to go down here and turn on the edge constraint, okay? And what that'll do is, you'll be able to see here, I'm going to scale them down, but they're going to slide along existing edges without interrupting the topology and wrecking it too much. So see, it's still kind of on the same surface. I'm going to pull these top ones in a bit as well, and these bottom ones in a little bit. I'm also going to push these up, bring these ones down a bit. It's kind of cool, and I'll see what happens if I just delete those and join these up. Not the cleanest. So what I'm going to do is I'll pick this, hit go ring, connect, and then with edge back off. I should have turned that off immediately when I was done with it. It's something you should got to keep in mind. Now I'm going to relax this, push it forward a little bit maybe. Just sort of, you got to mess around with these things to get them happening the way you want them to. Push these forward a little bit. It's quite janky. Got to clean that up a lot. Back you go. Let's see. Pull this down. Oh man, my voice is very croaky. I'll just set it all to smoothie group 1 and see how it shades. It's not too bad actually. I may just roll with that after a little bit of tweaking. I'm just going to go into rotate mode. I'll turn off the edge angle snap, sorry. I might turn on the edge constraint here. Let's see how that goes. These need to be pulled back, I think, on the underside. I'd say I'm okay with that. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. Now I've only got one more thing to join up, and I think this one's going to be a little bit easier. But what I am going to do is, I think I will just delete this this loop here on this particular fin, because it doesn't need that much resolution. And again, we're still in edge constraint because I neglected to turn it off again. So I'm going to grab this. I guess I'll scale it up, edge constraint on again, and scale it up so it stays on the same surface. It scales a bit, and then I'm going to go one further out just to keep the edge loop sort of smooth. Then I'll delete these and bridge them together. And then it's just a matter of cleanup. I will add in another loop, I think, actually. Oh no, I can probably do without, come to think of it. Oops. Edge constraint still on, like I said. Always remember to check to turn it off. I'll pull this in a little bit to give that sort of bump there. Pull this out. This one up. Just try and keep it smooth. But unselect everything else. Invisible everything else. Hide everything else, I should say. That's not perfect. It's shading mostly strange because we've got two lights in the scene. So what I'm going to do is go into configure viewports, go to one light because it's a little bit less misleading. You can sort of see what's going on a bit better. And I'm okay with that. Even though it's not shading perfectly right now, what we can do is test what it would look like with the turbo smooth on. That's underneath that's underneath where my interface goes. So if it turbo smooths, that is still looking fine, right? So before it was kind of a little bit boxy. One turbo smooth iteration even is enough to sort of smooth it out. Oh, we didn't connect this one up. Okay, for this one, we will, I think I'm going to use this back here a little bit. I'll pull this one back a bit too. Okay, and I'm going to insert this like the one before. It's about there. I'm going to move that up a little bit. I'm going to pull these in too. And I'll turn on edge constraint. Grab these top ones as well. And scale it down. It's starting to not line up that well, so we'll have to edit it a little bit more. Pull this one back. I'll just delete this hole here. See how they join up with a bridge. That's a little bit wonky in places, but it's mostly okay. It's salvageable for sure. I'll pull these down a bit. I'll move this one over a bit more too. Oop. That looks okay-ish to me. Back you go a bit. Now I'll smooth those all to one. Looking at this, I might actually relax it a little bit, this loop here, because it's not making a very pleasant curve. Or actually, what I could do is chamfer it just a little. That's about okay by me. And then maybe one hit of the relax. Yeah, that's a bit better. So yeah, now they're all joined up. Sorry, I got a frog in my throat. And now we'll just put a symmetry modifier on. That was kind of funny. Z. Put this on a really low threshold again as usual, and that's a shark, I guess. It's a little hammerhead shark base mesh, and you could take this into ZBrush if you wanted to, but I'll make some a separate video for just an optimization pass over it, and some little edits you might want to do, and consider those optional. This was just to show edge extrusion. Optimizing wouldn't involve any edge extrusion. The turbo smooth, it looks like this, and I mean, you could keep going up and up, and because it's in quads, it's all still quite smooth and nice, and it would be quite easy to sculpt this if you brought it into a sculpting program. So I hope that was informative. I know it was a little bit tedious because we just kept using the same technique over and over again, but hopefully you fully understand edge extrusion now. Good luck with using it, I guess.